Okay, I want to talk a little bit about a video I found that you guys are going to love. This one is actually from the Young Turks. This is only about 6 minutes long. I wanted to show this because my channel has been a lot about debunking conspiracy theories over the last couple of years. Months. When I kind of started this channel, it was more about politics, right? It was more about politics, it was more about social issues. Those are the things I consider to be important. I think a lot of the problems we have in this country stem from the fact that the average voter is uninformed, and the average person does not pay very much attention to politics at all. And it's not to say that people are unintelligent and they're not capable of paying attention or not capable of understanding. No, I don't believe that at all. I believe the average person is intelligent enough in order to understand politics and understand, what's important and shit like that, right? I just think that the average person doesn't pay enough attention. In order to stay informed, you have to, make an effort. And people don't have time for that shit. People are out there working 2-3 jobs and stuff like that. They gotta keep food on the table, whatever, right? And besides, politics is boring. Who wants to sit there for fucking 4 hours every day and comb through different sources and try to decide, am I being lied to here, or these guys, whatever. That's what you kind of have to do nowadays. You can't just go to one source and get all your news from one source anymore. You have to be a little bit of an investigative reporter yourself, kind of track things down. And you have to be astute enough to know that when you're being lied to. Most people in this country just don't have the time for that. And what I've seen myself personally over the last decade is this rise in conspiracy theories. Not just in the right wing, although it is almost universal in the right wing. When I say that, I'm not kidding. I have not met someone, a Republican, in the last decade who wasn't influenced by conspiracy theories in one way or another. Most of them are just head deep dived straight into all the conspiracy theory horseshit. Most of all the Republicans I've met who are under the age of 50 are 100% consumed by this shit. Now, most of them, I'm not going to say all of them, because there's still plenty of people out there that I know personally that are conservative and they've got good heads on their shoulders, and they're not idiots. They don't just believe every fucking thing they read. But a very large number, and this is the thing, it's not just them, but a very large number of conservatives, specifically conservatives, seem to be just completely they're drinking the fucking Kool-Aid. And I know the same thing happens on the left wing as well. It's just because you're a leftist or that you believe in progressive ideals or something does not make you immune from conspiracy theories. No. There's a lot of conspiracy theories on the left also, and maybe we should do a video one day kind of exploring some of those, in particular when it comes to alternative medicine and anti-corporate kind of stuff. There's a lot of conspiracy theories in that way as well, but I don't see it being as prevalent in the left as on the right. And it's not as prevalent, and it seems like the conspiracy theories that leftists tend to believe are not as dangerous or hateful. You don't see it very much, in my opinion, conspiracy theorists having to do with racism, with anti-Semitism. And this particular video that I dug up here, I think illustrates that rather well. So this is from the Young Turks, actually, about 5 minutes long. And let's go ahead and turn on my laptop. Okay, Trump arrives at Waterford Township, Michigan. And the title of this video is called "Proud Boy, If Trump Loses This Election, There Will Be Riots, I Guarantee It." So if you guys want to come and find this video and watch it for yourselves later on, that's the title. From the Young Turks, let's go ahead and take it away.
What is it that excites you about Donald Trump?
Honestly, it's just because we really don't have another candidate that's better. None at all. He's done more for this country than any other president has in decades.
In terms of what? Can you...
So that right there, I know we're only 5 seconds into this, 21 seconds. But just to kind of take that away, let's see what that guy just said. Let's examine what he said. We don't have a candidate that's better. And that would make you kind of think that, maybe they're open to another candidate, like if they had somebody else. And then the very next thing the guy says is he's done more for this country than anybody else. There's a reason why Donald Trump dominated in the Republican primaries, even though he had other people up there that believed in essentially the exact same shit as him. There was Vivek Ramaswamy, there was fucking Governor of Florida, DeSantis, that asshole. They all believed in the exact same fucking stuff. All the same racist bullshit that Trump believes. Why did they choose Trump, though? Why did they all go with Trump? Because it's a cult. Like, a lot of people out there, especially on the left, will say some shit like, well, it's just Trump, and then even if we beat Trump, this movement won't stop. And they use that as an excuse to not vote. And I go, well, no, that's not necessarily true. I really do think that the cult of personality around Trump has a lot to do with the fascist movement in this country. And I don't think that there's another different effective leader that can replace Trump. I think the cult of personality has evolved around Trump himself. And if Trump loses the election, yeah, maybe it doesn't go away, but I think that it's going to take some time, maybe a couple of election cycles, even maybe a couple of decades for it to get back to the strength of where it's at now. I really do think that, because it doesn't seem, because if that was the case, if it was more of a case of it's the movement and not the man, then they would have gone with somebody else. Because Donald Trump is not a good candidate any way you look at it. Ex-president who arguably had probably the shittiest administration ever in this country. I mean, there was a thing that came out the other day where this one company sort of ranked him last, like they ranked him as the crappiest president that we've ever had. I didn't save that, but just a recent thing. You know, he's not a very popular president as president. Not popular at all. He's got 91 fucking charges that he's going to have to deal with before he becomes president. There's a very good chance that by this time next year, Donald Trump's going to be in jail. So why would they want to choose him? Why would the Republicans want to choose him? They chose him, right? They voted for him because of the cult of personality. Because the thing is, you would think from a strategic perspective that any of the other candidates would be better. That somebody like DeSantis or Vivek Ramaswamy or Nikki Haley would be better. That most people aren't going to vote for a criminal, right? But no, it's because it doesn't have to do with them. It doesn't have to do with the actual movement. No, there's not enough people in this fascist movement to actually sustain it. Conservatives don't have ideology, especially Trump supporters. They want Donald Trump. They don't actually give a fuck about the ideology. They're kind of projecting their own ideology onto Trump. And that's why guys like this can get up and say, he's done really great things for this country. If you were to ask him, I bet you $1 million the shit that he says Donald Trump did, is lies, and Donald Trump didn't actually do any of it. Went off on a little bit of a tangent, but that's why I think it's important, specifically to defeat Donald Trump. I think if we do that, if we manage to actually defeat him in this upcoming election, I think it'll do a massively giant blow to the fascist movement in this country. I think it's going to take them a very long time to recover from it, if they ever recover at all. But let's continue. That was kind of sorry for the aside there. Let's continue on.
Be specific.
He didn't get us involved in bullshit wars that we don't belong in. We don't belong over there. We need everybody we got home.
What do you think he should do?
That, by the way, was a lie. Donald Trump and the fight against ISIS and all that stuff, and how Donald Trump refused to remove troops from Iraq and Afghanistan and all that kind of thing. I don't know if you guys remember all that. Donald Trump didn't do very much to stop wars. If he really was that anti-war, he could have removed all the troops from Afghanistan. He didn't do that. Joe Biden was the one that did that. I mean, I'm sorry if that doesn't fit the narrative that Trump is somehow a fucking dove and Biden is a war hawk. That's another thing for everybody, because there's a lot of people on the left now who will refuse to vote for Joe Biden because of his support of Israel, and that actually is a good reason not to vote for Joe Biden. I mean, if that's a bridge too far for you, no one's going to complain. I mean, at least I won't. I'm not going to say shit about, well, you should have voted for... No, you vote for whoever you want to vote for, right? I'm probably going to vote for him specifically to defeat fascism in this country. That's why I'm voting for Joe Biden. But plenty of people out there are legit, have a legit reason when they say that, no, his support for Israel and their genocide is too much, and I'm not voting for him. That's absolutely fine. That's an absolutely legit reason. But let's not pretend that if Donald Trump were to become president, then somehow the support for Israel from this country suddenly goes away. That's no. Now, anybody out there on the left, if you're a Democrat or a progressive or whatever, and you think that when Joe Biden leaves office, then suddenly we're going to reverse our stance when it comes to Israel, no. Not happening. If anything, if Donald Trump were president now, there would be troops there. Right? Remember what Donald Trump did when it came to Israel. He fucking moved the embassy to Jerusalem specifically to piss off the Palestinians. He did a drone strike on an Iranian general for the benefit of the Israelis. Do you remember that shit? What was his name? Suleiman or something like that? He did a drone strike and murders one. Imagine that. Imagine if Iran did a drone strike and killed General Petraeus. Right. I know Petraeus is retired, but he's the only general I can think of right now. Imagine if that happened. Or imagine if Iran did a missile strike and killed one of the members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff or something. What do you think we would do in response to that? That would be like fucking World War III right there. It'd be on. We'd be dropping bombs on them as we speak if that was the fucking case. Yet somehow Trump does that to them and they don't do shit back to us. That's how fucking anti-war Donald Trump was. Okay, so don't listen to the bullshit. That's fine if that's your line in the sand. If support for the Palestinian genocide that the Israelis are fucking undertaking, if that's your line in the sand for voting for Joe Biden, that's absolutely fine. But please don't pretend that it's going to change or that Donald Trump's policy in this area is going to be any different or any better. If anything, it's going to be 10 times worse. Sorry, that's just a fucking fact. And reality is not good sometimes. Sometimes you don't have good choices. Anyway, let's continue here.
If he's president again about Israel and Palestine.
He's going to pull everybody out. We don't belong over there. It's not our problem. But we need to worry more about what's going on here.
Did you hear that? He's going to pull everybody out. No, he won't. He will not pull everybody out. I mean, first off, we don't actually have troops right now in Israel or Palestine. There are no there's what's going on is that American money is being used to buy the bombs and the bullets that are killing the Palestinians. Of course, not right now because they haven't sent any aid there because they've been fighting over the package because the Democrats want to send aid to Ukraine in order to stop, the invasion there. And the Republicans don't. So that's why no aid has been going to Israel lately. So maybe that's a good thing. Maybe the Republicans have failed successfully and has managed to stop aid from going to Israel. But at the same time, no. What this guy just said, he's going to pull everybody else and stop the fighting. No, he won't. If anything, Donald Trump would send American troops there, right? That's what he would fucking do. Don't say that he wouldn't, because he would. All right? These guys are delusional. Like I said, this guy doesn't even know Donald Trump's stance on these things. He doesn't even know what Donald Trump's policies would be on these things. He's projecting himself into Trump because of the cult of personality.
Than over there.
But we really don't have soldiers. Israel's fighting this against Hamas.
We need to stop giving them money too. We need to stop giving Ukraine money. They're a bunch of Nazis over there. You guys.
Did you notice how he just really sort of transitioned over into Ukraine too? He goes, okay, well, the host here says, hey, we don't have American soldiers in Israel. And the guy says we need to stop giving them money. And then, before he could follow up, he moved right over to Ukraine. We have to stop giving Ukraine money. There are a bunch of Nazis over there. Yeah, well, you know something, folks? There are more Nazis now in Ukraine since the Russians invaded. Let's just put it that way. Yes, there were actual Nazis in Ukraine. There was like a right-wing brigade, but the actual real Nazis are the Russian invaders there. So that's kind of bullshit too. Why does this guy give a fuck about Ukraine anyway? Putin is like an ally to the right wing in this country now. Okay, that's why the Republicans and the conservatives basically spend all their time kissing Putin's ass. That's why Tucker Carlson went to fucking Russia to like give him a fucking ball fucking coddling that they disguised as an interview. Because they see Putin as some kind of anti-woke crusader and shit. And what it really is that they want their own fucking Cheeto-dusted Muppet to take over and be an authoritarian just like Putin, because then, you know, he can outlaw all the trans people or whatever. That's exactly what they fucking want. That's the real reason why they support Putin. Why? Because of the cult of personality, because these people are fucking morons. They're morons and they're fascists. Moving on.
Even knew the real story about what's going on over there. It's sickening.
Do you think that Biden has made it worse in Israel and Palestine?
He has made absolutely everything around the world worse. Not just our country, around the entire world.
Is there anything
How?
that Donald Trump could do now to lose your support for president?
How exactly is that all Biden's fault? How is it Biden's fault that Russia invaded the Ukraine? How is it Biden's fault that fucking the war started in Palestine? Remember, folks, yes, it's bad. Like, you know, we're talking about the, you know, the Israeli genocide and all that shit, but they didn't actually instigate this. This current war that's going on there was instigated by Hamas. So how did Joe Biden force Hamas to attack Israel? How did that happen, right? How is Joe Biden forcing Netanyahu to massacre civilians in response? What does Joe Biden have to do with any of that? I mean, as far as causing that to happen, you know, our involvement in that has to do with money and aid that we give to Israel. But it's not like they all got together in a back room with Joe Biden and plotted all this shit out. How are the actions of other countries the responsibility of the American president? And why would it be any different if Donald Trump were there? The difference, in my opinion, if Donald Trump were there, is that we would be more involved in this shit. We would be supporting Russia in the Ukraine now if Donald Trump was in charge. Donald Trump just said, like in one of his fucking interviews, he would encourage Putin to invade any NATO country that is not paying 2% of their GDP to the military. That's fucking Donald Trump's stance on Russia there, where he would look the other way if Russia invaded Germany or something, or Poland or whatever. He would just turn the other way and be like, oh, are they not paying the amount that we want them to pay to NATO? Then fuck it, we're not helping. That's fucking Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump becomes president, he's going to try to remove us from NATO. I don't know if you guys know that either. He straight out said it. Here's the other thing. These are not conspiracies, right? The stuff I'm saying here, these are not like speculations. Like, he straight out said it. He would move to remove the United States from NATO at the behest of Russia. Right? So that's what fucking would happen if Donald Trump were in charge. But this guy seems to think somehow that Donald Trump is a peacemaker, that he'd be out there making peace and all this other stuff and using American power to stop war. When in real life, it's the exact fucking opposite of that is what would happen. Fucking delusional. Moving on.
Absolutely not.
I mean, what if he is convicted of these crimes?
If he's convicted of these crimes, then he's convicted. But
That doesn't bother you, though?
it does not bother me at all. No.
What about what he said the other day about NATO?
Absolutely.
You agree that we should support Putin if he goes into another NATO country?
Absolutely.
That's what I was just talking about.
We don't back him up.
And even like support Putin who's going in and invading?
Absolutely.
But why support Putin and not support Ukraine and not support Israel or Palestine now?
Because Putin's real to everybody's face. He's not a bull like half these other government officials around the world. These elite guys that run everything and have all of our government officials as a puppet, puppets. That's what they all are.
And supporting the Russian president is
There you go, folks. Why? Now, think about what that guy just said. If that actually happened, let's say that, there was a NATO country, like, I don't know, Liechtenstein or something, right? And Russia invaded them, and Donald Trump said, oh, well, Liechtenstein wasn't paying its fair share to NATO, so we're not going to help them. The justification this guy just gave for that, as to why we should take Putin's side in that, and not NATO's side, is because Putin doesn't bullshit people. That's why. That's what he said. Putin doesn't bullshit people. Putin's true. He's not a puppet. Yeah, he's not a puppet. He's the one that pulls the strings. See, to these guys, to people like this, they think that there's a cabal of Jewish bankers running everything, and Putin isn't in charge of all that. What's the reason why people become dictators in the first place? And they want all the power and all that in the first place? Like, why is the reason that somebody tries to suspend democracy and just take over a country and rule it like a king? It's to get the money. Power and money. That's what it's all about. Putin is probably the richest man on earth. But we don't really know, because all of his wealth is hidden. Because that's what being a dictator is there for. That's why people become dictators, is so that they can basically siphon all of the wealth out of a country. And you see it over and over and over. You saw it with Idi Amin. You see it with fucking Gaddafi. Every single one of these tin pot little dictators all throughout history. You saw it with Pol Pot. You saw it with Augusto Pinochet. All of these assholes. They all had millions upon millions upon millions of dollars squirreled away in different accounts. That's the whole reason why you become a fucking dictator in the first place. Is so that you can take all of the money and all of the power and rule forever. The same thing with Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein had a golden fucking carriage. A carriage made out of pure gold being like pulled by horses and shit. This is during the height of the Iraqi sanctions that they had. You know, they had sanctions on Iraq for like 20 years after the Gulf War. People in his country were like starving to death and dying because they didn't have basic medicine. They didn't have shit like penicillin. And they're dying from like easily preventable diseases. In the meantime, he's driving around in a fucking carriage of pure gold. Okay? That's what being a dictator is for. So yeah, Putin isn't a puppet because he's the one that is already pulling all the strings for all of the other politicians in his country who are puppets, so that they can funnel all that money upwards. This fucking idiot is like supporting him because what? Putin doesn't like gay people. That's the real fucking reason why this asshole's doing it, by the way. That's the real reason why the conservatives in this country are so pro-Russia and pro-Putin now. Because of social reasons. The actual politicians in this country, right, the actual GOP, who are not part of the MAGA caucus, maybe not so much, but the Louis Gohmerts, the Marjorie Taylor Greens, those people, they're pro-Russia because Putin is anti-LGBTQ. That's why. That's the reason why. And it's, once again, it's conspiracy theories and religion, which is like leading our country down a fucking path towards hell. And assholes like this stupid fucking Proud Boy with a leather diaper on his face. What the fuck even is this? I mean, okay, yeah, I'm glad you're masking up here so that you don't spread fucking COVID, but the real reason why this guy has a mask on, by the way, is so that people don't dox him at home because he's a goddamn coward. Way to stand by your convictions here, buddy. That's the real reason why this guy's supporting Putin. Because he hates gay people. It's fucking sickening. Moving on.
Something that has not been American tradition, to say the least. To do that seems extreme to a lot of people. Why does it not to you?
To me, when you saw Trump in president, Korea backed down, Russia backed down, everybody backed down. There was peace everywhere. The second Biden got into office, war was talked about everywhere. Now we're in a...
That is complete bullshit. Complete total... Russia backed down. Get the fuck out of my face. Russia didn't back down. Putin was in the Oval fucking office slapping Trump's back. Do we know what they talked about? No. You know why? Because the translator, like they basically took the translated recording of what they talked about and destroyed it, which is against the law, by the way. I like how Trump didn't go to jail for that shit. North Korea backed down. Bullshit. They were shooting missiles over Japan. They were blowing up nuclear missiles in the middle of the ocean. When Trump was president, they didn't fucking back down. They basically did whatever the fuck they wanted. Absolutely fucking, it's just the opposite of reality with these people. Moving on.
Point where they're talking about World War III. Now we got people coming in. We have actual terrorists coming through our border into our country, right in front of Biden's face, and he's doing nothing about it. He can bring all of his troops over here all he wants, because that's what they are. All these immigrants coming in through the border, all the men, they're all military. It's been noted and documented. He's bringing people over here to start and get votes.
And there goes the conspiracy theories, folks. This conspiracy theory is something that's very old. It's something that's been around for a very long time. There's lots of variants on it. It's basically a variant of the Great Replacement theory, where basically Mexico or somebody sends over a bunch of people as illegal immigrants or whatever, and they're secretly soldiers, and that one day they're going to rise up and take over, right? And they've called this, there's been various names for this. One of them is the Aztlan conspiracy. It was a conspiracy like back in the 90s where they thought that Mexico wanted to retake California and parts of Texas and parts of Oregon because these were lands that were stolen from them after the Mexican-American War, for example. That kind of thing. And it's just the same. And that's the thing about conspiracy theories, is that it's just the same shit over and over and over. There's very little originality when it comes to conspiracy theories. They just recycle the same disproven bad ideas. There's zero evidence right now that troops from any country are coming over the border, the southern border. Because here's the other thing, right? These guys can't decide which country's trying to invade. Is it Mexico? Is it China? You'll hear the same thing. You'll say like, oh, some say that there's Chinese nationals coming over the southern border, and that they're all men of military age and they're infiltrating the country. They're going to be a fifth column, whatever. So is it Chinese nationals? Is it Mexican nationals? Who the fuck is invading? And then he said there, Biden is bringing them over. Why the fuck would Biden need to bring over foreign troops to take over the United States? Like, what the fuck are you even talking about? So what, he's going to allow the country to be taken over by some other country? Is that what it is? Couldn't he just use American troops to take over if he wanted to? Like, you know, if he wanted to, I don't know, declare martial law and suspend like your civil rights or whatever, couldn't he just use American troops to do that? Why would he need Mexican troops or Chinese troops or whatever? It doesn't make any fucking sense. But this dude is sitting here talking about who he's going to vote for based on these dumbass fucking conspiracy theories. And if you think he's the only one, then I got news for you. He's not. The shit this guy is saying is very prevalent out there, all over the internet, and not just in conservative circles. Moving on.
To lock up every patriot, to make it so that we can't even organize as a group anymore.
What is your group? Because I see the D for Detroit Tigers out there. What?
We're Proud Boys. We don't hide from anywhere. Anybody. We're out here.
Yeah, not proud enough to show your face, though, huh? Fucking coward. Oh, we don't hide from anybody except my face. These guys are fucking cowards.
No reason to hide. But the second they decide they want to try and pass this bill, they're taking a direct shot at the Constitution when they do that. And when they do that, they're doing that to every American, including the police.
I think the bill they must be talking about is actually the immigration bill that basically the Republicans shot down. So those of you guys, we didn't really talk about this during the stream, but it was in the news. Basically, the Republicans came up with an immigration bill that they wanted to get passed, and the Democrats agreed to all of it, and it was very draconian stuff. They basically said, okay, we'll give you anything you want. And then Donald Trump got involved and stopped the Republicans from voting yes on their own bill because he didn't want to give Joe Biden a victory before the election. Donald Trump wants to use immigration as a thing to run on because, remember, the Republicans don't actually have any policies to run on. They don't actually have any subjects or anything that they can run on themselves. So they want to use immigration once again to fearmonger and scare their base into voting because they don't actually have any decent policies. So they stopped their own fucking bill from passing. That's what happened basically last week. Republicans voted no on their own bill, even though it passed in the Senate and they got everything they wanted in it. Every single fucking thing they wanted in it. And I think that's the bill this guy's mentioning here. The bill that came from the Republicans, that is basically a Republican wet dream, has now been transformed into a bill which is going to destroy the country. It would be funny if it wasn't true.
National Guard, everybody. You don't want to take on your own country. We're at that tipping point right now between the U.S. citizens and our government where they're treading a very thin line. With a lot of people. A lot of people. People that are way bigger than anybody else that is out here right now, including us.
So where's that happening? Like, where?
Yep. Now they're basically at the point where they're threatening violence if they lose. That's what he just did, by the way. He just basically threatened a civil war if they lose the election. That's what you always do, right? When the guy you vote for is a fucking criminal and people don't like him and he loses the election, you just threaten violence. Keep that in mind, folks. These people are not patriots, okay? They're not patriots, right? When you lose an election, you're supposed to get out there and work harder to get the guy you wanted to win actually win. Donate your time, donate your money, go to rallies, things like that. Phone bank for them, that kind of thing. That's what you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to go out and actually work. It takes work to win an election. These guys don't want to put in any fucking work. They don't actually want to do the work. They just use threats. They say, well, if you don't get what we want, we're going to revolt. Well, fuck you. The correct answer to that is fuck you. That's the correct answer. If you ever see anybody threatening political violence, then you need to nip that shit in the bud immediately. No, do it, is what I gotta say. Go ahead, do it. Do it, watch what fucking happens. All right? Watch how fast the average American person turns against you the nanosecond you get violent. That's the pattern in this country, by the way, folks, right? Everybody says, oh, it'll be all bad and all that stuff. No. As soon as there's violence, the public turns against you. Through all of it, thick and thin, we are Americans. And Americans, for the most part, believe in democracy. And I really ultimately think that's why this shit is going to lose. Now, I don't mean to say that they don't have a chance of winning, because there definitely is a chance that they win and democracy gets destroyed in this country. And there could be some very tumultuous times coming because of that. I'm not saying there's no threat. There definitely is a fucking threat. Oh, the average person won't know it until it's too late. Is like using fear. He's delusional, by the way. If any of you out there have friends or family that buy into this second Civil War shit, please let them know they're fucking delusional. There is zero chance for a popular uprising through force of arms to take over this country. It just won't happen. January 6th, that was probably the most people that they'll manage to get out there. How many people were that? A lot. But do you think that all of those people would ever show up armed to the Capitol? Because that's kind of what it would take. It would take somewhere in the area of like an army of like 100,000 people showing up at the Capitol armed with guns and catching everybody there unawares in order to actually be a successful coup through the force of arms. Do you ever think that's going to happen? You couldn't even get half of those people at January 6th to even do anything to like break in or no. That's not going to happen at all. Like we're not anywhere close to that shit. It's a fantasy is what I'm trying to say. It's kind of a right-wing fucking alt-right chud fantasy that one day there's going to be a second civil war and then they're going to isolate all the cities and starve them out and all this other shit, blah, blah, blah. There's going to be a popular uprising and then we'll just kill all the black people and gay people and all that shit. No, it's not going to happen. Now, does that mean that assholes like this wouldn't turn into like terrorist groups? Yeah, I could see that being a thing because we've had that type of thing in the past. White supremacist terrorist groups. That's not a new phenomenon. They've kind of died down in recent decades, but they've been around for a long time. Things like the Aryan Brotherhood and shit like that. I could see those guys coming back. But the type of popular support that an uprising needs in order to succeed, I really don't believe that there's that kind of support amongst the normal people in this country, the people that you would call the proletariat. Like, I don't think that exists. These people are fucking delusional. And they're just using threats. Like, why is this guy even saying this shit? Because he wants to scare people. He knows that this dude that is interviewing him is like from a liberal channel. And he wants to scare people out there into thinking, oh, if you oppose us, you're going to get hurt. And like I said, folks, the correct answer to that is fuck you. That's the correct answer to that. Only a few seconds left. Let's watch a little more.
What if Donald Trump were to lose? If he were to lose again, what would that mean?
This country would go to complete
I mean, in predictive analysis,
predictive analysis, there's going to be a lot of riots everywhere again. I mean, you've got even Joe Biden supporters turning their backs on him.
If the election result is the same as last time and Joe Biden wins again and Donald Trump loses, your predictive analysis is that there will be riots once again. And
Yes, there will be. I guarantee.
I don't think so.
What would that mean for the country?
That would mean everybody's starting to see through the government's bullshit. Maybe we can all finally get together instead of being divided and let them know that this is our country, not theirs.
Do you think that Donald Trump was more of a uniter or a divider or neither?
He was a uniter, 100%.
Okay, first off, were there riots in 2020? I mean, there was the Capital City riot, the fucking J6 thing. That was a riot, for sure. Okay. But how many other riots were there around the country? None. There's not going to be any, and there's not going to be any fucking riots this time. When Donald Trump loses again, hopefully, if he loses again, there will not be another, no. There may be another January 6th kind of thing. But the type of popular uprising, you know what riots look like? You know what a popular uprising looks like? Black Lives Matter. That's when you get riots all over the country. That's what a popular uprising looks like. Okay. And even that, as far as popular uprisings go, was small. There were riots, but there were not riots everywhere in every state, at every state capital, in every town. No. That's not what happened. There were hot spots in various places around the country. Philadelphia, Georgia, stuff like that. But it wasn't like in other countries. You know what? Here's a better example of a popular uprising. Egypt, during the Arab Spring, when the guy Mubarak had to basically step down. That's what a popular uprising really looks like. That's when hundreds of thousands of people were in the streets for weeks on end. Did that happen in 2020 here because Donald Trump lost the election? No. And I really don't think that these people have the popular support for that to happen again. I really don't think that they'll ever, I don't know, but currently right now, I don't want to say ever, but currently right now, I don't think that they have the popular support in order to get that kind of uprising going. No, not possible. I could definitely see a bunch of fucking white supremacist douchebags turning into terrorists. Like I said, white supremacist fucking gangs, that kind of thing. I could definitely see that being a thing. But riots around the entire country, no. Now let's rewind it just a little bit, because this guy just said something really hilarious about Donald Trump being a uniter.
Instead of being divided, and let them know that this is our country, not theirs.
Do you think that Donald Trump was more of a uniter or a divider or neither?
He was a uniter, 100%. Absolutely.
He said he's going to...
He was a uniter. Yeah, he united all of the white supremacists together. Okay. I guess he united all of the conservatives with the white supremacists and Proud Boy types and Nick Fuentes and shit. He united all those guys. But that's the other thing you got to remember about these, right? The more time goes on, the more people will have nostalgia for the Trump years. Just like this guy is. And the more actual truth will get lost in the fog of memory. This guy doesn't seem to remember 2019, 2020, and the actual riots in the street from BLM and all that kind of thing. What was Donald Trump doing to unite people then? Because it was a real problem. BLM was addressing a real problem. That problem being police blowing people away in the streets. And how that, I mean, it still happens, right? But you'll notice now, whenever that does happen, the police are very careful. They're very careful. They've been careful for a couple of years now. Why? Because they know that people will there'll be a response. If they just blow somebody away and it doesn't look justified, whenever this happens now, they're very quick to release evidence, basically saying, well, here's video of the guy stealing a car and running over an old lady, that kind of thing. And then we had to shoot him. And you'll notice that there haven't really been any riots since around 2020, when all of the BLM thing kind of petered out. You'll notice that happened. Well, what was Donald Trump doing during 2020 to bring people together? What was he doing? Because I seem to remember Donald Trump sending federal troops out at BLM protests and just grabbing people off the streets. Do you remember that? Federal troops. He would take federal officers, not troops, officers, and they would just drive up and they would just grab a guy. And then they would just leave. And then not tell anybody, and they didn't have any badges on, and they would do it in civilian-looking cars, so they wouldn't tell anybody where they were going. There's video of this shit out there. I know it because I did live streams about it on my channel. Go back to 2020, and I have several live streams about this, about Donald Trump's goons just grabbing people, not saying who they are. Not having a uniform. They were like ununiformed goons, like basically fucking secret police style. And then just throwing people in a car and taking them somewhere. And then, who knows what happened to these people? Where'd they go? That was Donald Trump's fucking response. Donald Trump's response was to become a fucking fascist about it. Remember that time Donald Trump wanted to do a photo op at a church? And there were some protesters there, so he sent fucking the cops out to go tear gas those protesters at the church. And it just so happened that one of the guys that they fucking tear gassed was the pastor who ran the church. They tear gas this guy, and then they walk across the street to the church, and then Donald Trump held a fucking Bible upside down to get a photo op. Remember that shit? That's the kind of fucking uniting Donald Trump was doing. So don't give me this fucking shit. He was definitely a uniter. Yeah, right. He united your fucking head with your anus, you fucking moron. These guys are so full of shit. Moving on.
Pardon all those who were convicted of felonies on January 6th. Do you support that?
Do I support the feds going in and wearing fake colors and saying that they were this and they were that? No, I don't.
No, I'm supporting the pardon I'm talking about.
We got guys locked up in jail for no reason.
Yep, it was all the feds. January 6th was all the feds. I don't really understand that angle to the conspiracy theory. The J6 conspiracy theory that it was all feds. Because, here's the thing, right? So first they said it was Antifa. The Antifa people are against Donald Trump, were they not? I mean, if you believe that it was Antifa at all, or if you believe that Antifa is organized enough to try to do something like January 6th, which, no, because Antifa is not really an organization, but that's besides the point. But typically, Antifa would be people that support Democrats, at least in the view of guys like this, which in real life they're not. They don't support Democrats, but at least in the view of Proud Boy dudes, morons like this guy. Antifa would be people who would support Joe Biden. Isn't that true? So why would Antifa want to stop the certification of Joe Biden's election? That's the first thing. Then they said, oh, well, it was all feds. Well, why would the feds want to stop the certification of Joe Biden's election either? See, Donald Trump was in charge of the federal government on January 6th. Was he not? He was the president. Donald Trump was the president. Joe Biden was not yet the president. J6 was about Joe Biden being certified. It was about the election being certified. Was it not? So why the fuck would Joe Biden send the FBI to stop his own certification of his own election? How does that make any sense at all? But this fucking idiot just believes that shit hook, line, and sinker. They were all feds. Do I support the feds wearing colors and going in? It's like, not only do you not have any proof of that at all, it just doesn't make any sense if you just think about it. For the smallest, if you just take the smallest little bit of time and examine it, it falls apart in more ways that you can even consider. It's the dumbest fucking shit ever. And why does this guy believe that? Is this guy just too fucking stupid to think about this? Is that what it is? Is he just too fucking dumb to examine these things critically? Or is it because some other reason? Is it because he is part of Trump's cult of personality? Is it because to him, to people like this, to this guy and his assorted other conservatives, politics serves the same purpose that religion does? And it's not about the truth. It's not about actually helping people or running your country in a way that benefits the populace. It's about identity. That's what it's really going on here. That's what's really going on here. Politics to this guy is all about how you identify. You're either with us or you're with them. And if you're with us, you believe this is this and this. No matter what the actual facts are, you still believe it. Right? This is why if you ever try to debate these guys, if you ever try to go on social media or Reddit or something like that, and you try to debate these guys, they'll try to like get out of it, and they'll call you and they'll say, "Are you a liberal?" Like that's supposed to make you wrong. And it's like, well, it doesn't matter what my politics are, motherfucker. What are the facts? How about you talk about the fucking facts? He doesn't give a shit about the facts. It's all about identity. This guy identifies as a conservative patriot, whatever, and that means automatically everything he believes must be true. And everything bad that happens must be because of the other side. Because that's the exact same thing you believe in a religion. God is good, Satan is bad. Therefore, everything that is bad is because of Satan. Everything that's good is because of God. And since we believe in God, everything we do must be good, which means everything that other people do that we don't like must be because of Satan. Hence, therefore, everybody who's a Democrat is a devil worshiper. And I wish I wasn't making that up. That's exactly how these people fucking think. 30 seconds. Let's continue.
For no reason whatsoever. The police walked everybody through there. Why are you putting people in jail when the police are walking people through there?
That's
they
bullshit,
call
by
them
the way.
J6ers. They're not J6ers. The people that incited all this and got people shot was our own feds. The FBI, CIA, the government plants. That's what they are. I've been informed.
Yeah, they're government plants. Because, you know, Joe Biden wanted to stop his own certification. That's why the government that Joe Biden was not the president yet of somehow wanted to stop the certification of Joe Biden. So, I mean, if that was the case, wouldn't it be Donald Trump then who was in charge of the Fed? So doesn't that mean Donald Trump set up January 6th then to stop the certification? So, like, why? Like, what fucking reason? Like, how does that benefit Joe Biden? Right? Doesn't that mean then that Donald Trump is guilty of trying to fucking do a coup if there were all feds? Does that still mean that he's guilty? I mean, it doesn't make any fucking sense. It's embarrassing.
That's what they are. I've been informed of the New World Order movement since I was a kid. So this is something that I have always known was coming.
And you feel it imminent now.
Absolutely.
And there you go, folks. Let's go ahead and turn that off. We're not watching David Pakman. There you go, folks. I've been informed of the New World Order movement since I was a kid. I always knew it was coming. There you go, folks. There's the actual conspiracy pops up. The New World Order, of course, being a conspiracy that has been around forever. As long as I can remember. I was in high school. People were talking about that shit. And it just kind of shows you, it's like, okay, here's a guy that now it all makes sense. Because he was primed since childhood into believing ridiculous things. This is why conspiracy theories are so bad. This is why it's so insidious. Okay? Because I don't think that person there is too fucking stupid to understand this stuff. I don't believe that. I don't believe that this dude is such a fucking moron that he just doesn't get how ridiculous the things he's saying are. No. I don't believe that at all. I believe that it has to do with this guy's culture and his identity, and he's treating politics the same way that he treats religion. And really, the conspiracy theory shit is like an extension of his religion. I bet you $1 million that guy is a conservative evangelical Christian. If not evangelical, at least Baptist, something like that, right? I definitely believe that is the case. And I believe that he thinks what he's doing is like part of a cosmic struggle for the soul of mankind. And he's been primed to believe these things since he was a child because of conspiracy theories. And this is what makes conspiracy theories really dangerous. This is what makes them really dangerous because they basically prime you to believe incredibly ridiculous things and can result and can influence you in ways to where you work against your own best interest. I.e., this guy is going to vote for a fascist because the conspiracy theory told him so. Because the conspiracy theory told him that the other person is probably some kind of satanic pedophile, whatever, being controlled by Jews. And so he's going to go vote for a fascist. He's going to go vote for someone who's going to take away his rights and exploit him way more than he could ever imagine because he thinks God wants him to do it. That's why this shit is dangerous. I think, getting back to the beginning of this video, I think that's why the majority of my content now has to do with debunking conspiracy theories, because they are dangerous. They're dangerous in a way that religions are not dangerous, right? Because at least when it's a religion, you can talk to somebody and say, well, that's just what you believe. That's your personal beliefs. And I think most people who are religious don't actually believe that it's real. Not really. Most people know that, okay, this is my belief, it's a religion, and then they'll talk about part of the religion as if it's metaphorical. Most Christians out there don't actually believe that Adam and Eve were real. They don't actually believe that the flood was real. They don't actually believe that Noah spent 3 days inside of a whale. A lot of Christians probably don't even believe that the resurrection was real. Not a physical resurrection. They might think it's like a spiritual thing or something like that, right? A lot of Christians probably don't even believe that there will be, the second coming is going to be a real thing. Now, they might believe that as a spiritual thing too. But these guys actually believe this shit is actual real life. That's the difference. That's why you can have things like, say, Christians who are not conservatives, who will vote for things like abortion and same-sex marriage and stuff like that. Because they understand that it's like your religion and real life are two separate things. And one is a thing that you believe for that gives you strength or whatever, or it has to do with traditions, or it helps you get through troubled times or whatever, XYZ, and then the other thing is how you actually live your life. And the people that think that the fundamentalists, the people that think that it's actually real, the people that think that God is going to send you to hell if you don't take down the gay flag and burn it or whatever, those are the real dangerous fucking people. And that's what conspiracy theories do to people. They make people engage in dangerous behavior because they think it's actually real. If you actually thought, folks, if you actually believed that the country was run by a bunch of satanic pedophiles, what would you do? If you thought that was real, if you thought that was the real thing, if you really thought that all of your politicians and CEOs and things were actually kidnapping children and drinking their blood and shit and raping them and stuff like that, and you could stop it, you've got a shotgun and you can stop it, what would you actually do? And that's what makes these people that's what makes them scary. And that's why we got to stand up against this kind of thing. You got to stand up against conspiracy theories, right? If you have friends or family that are into this shit, you got to talk to them. Because it's almost like they're going to need deprogramming. Because this shit is a religion.
Hello folks, if you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.